everyone. Well, firstly, thank you so much for being here and welcome to today's webinar where we will learn how influencer marketing can be used when expanding into new markets, whether that's the next state over or entirely a different country. I am so excited today to be speaking with today's guest speaker, who is the amazing Piia, the Global Marketing Manager from Bolt, who will be sharing her experience from Bolt's expansion into over 50 markets, which is a fantastic achievement. Now, whilst we just wait for more to join, let's just run a quick poll. So, poll number 1. Have you expanded your influencer program into a new market? Perhaps you've done it in a new state, expanded into a new country, done both, or done neither. I'm interested to hear your answers. Okay, whilst you guys go ahead and answer, I'm going to do a little introduction of myself. So, hello, my name is Simone, and I am a content producer and influencer marketing expert here at Modash. Now, from 2012 to 2022, I actually worked as a professional influencer, working with brands like Amazon, Look Fantastic, The Body Shop, racking up over 41 million views on YouTube alone. However, when I did work as head of influencer at a busy UK agency, working with creators across markets was very much routine. My advice, if I was to give any, is to lean on software and don't try to be everywhere at once unless you have the resources to do so. Okay, let's reveal the results from poll number 1. I'm very interested. Okay, kind of mixed actually. Okay, exciting. All right, so in today's roundtable, we're going to learn how to discover and activate influencers based on market size, how to time campaign launches, and how to reduce wasted budgets. And the agenda will be super simple. We'll hear from Piia on how Bolt expanded to 50 plus markets, and we're going to hold a discussion and Q&A towards the end. So please do ask your questions in the comments box. Piia, actually, during my recent visit to Estonia, I truly realized how big of a brand Bolt truly is. So I'm really excited to hear how you managed to scale across 50 plus markets. I think that's incredible. And the role of influencer marketing had with that. So over to you.
Yes, thank you, Simone. Yeah, hi from me as well. I'm Piia. I'm the Global Influencer Marketing Manager at Bolt. Quick intro to myself. I actually come from a background of media and PR. So I worked in agencies. I've also worked at a newspaper. And similarly to Simone, what actually brought me to influencer marketing was my own small fashion blog in high school. So this is what piqued my interest and helped me get interested in the topic. For the past 4 years, I've led the influencer marketing function at Bolt. And yeah, at the best of times, we've had 2 people in the team, but because we also collaborate a lot with teams outside of our influencer marketing team, then the launching of 50 plus countries also comes with a really big group effort from other marketing teams. Yeah, so let's get started. This is kind of a quick snapshot meme of how we do influencer marketing at Bolt. When I first joined, then actually we had this always on global ambassador program where we had over 100 influencers posting for us each month from 15 plus markets, which were like our core markets at the time in the EMEA region. Everything was run from the HQ, as I said, with 1 or 2 people in the team. So it was super streamlined with really like unified briefs and a really strong focus on performance. But a few years ago, we turned it around and started focusing more on creative and local impactful collaborations. There were a lot of reasons for that. I will get to those, but this is where we were and where we are now. To get into a bit more detail, then, as I said, the performance program worked at the time because then Bolt was this new, exciting company. No one had really heard about us. We weren't in that many places. There were still lots of people who hadn't used our services. Also, social media was different at the time. And the main format was actually photo for us, and videos such as TikTok and Reels hadn't really even made their mark yet. Each influencer had their own promo code that they shared, which gave a discount to every new user, and we tracked that with acquisition metrics and lifetime value. And as I said, it was all centrally managed. So we also approved all the content in all the languages. And the messages were really sales focused and like really performance focused, even so that in some cases, influencers used to share just their promo code on like a black background on Instagram stories with like no context that doesn't do anything for the brand. So yeah, and in addition to brand positioning, there were also some problems with like attribution and also even fraud in terms of the promo codes. So as like a complex solution to those, we switched it around and went to brand awareness. Went the brand awareness route. A big thing that actually brought this on is that our local marketing team started growing. So instead of doing all influencer marketing from the HQ with 1 or 2 people, we got to rely a lot more on marketers in all the countries that we have, that we work in. So people in Poland actually wanted to do their own collaborations. People in Germany, in Portugal, in the Czech Republic, wherever, they were more in tune with the local market and with the local zeitgeist, and they could just choose more relevant influencers basically than we could. Also, as I said, social media just started changing and video became the main format. So while it was possible for us to approve videos, approve posts in whatever language with the help of Google Translate, if it was just text and photo, then it was super hard to do it if it's a video post. And we needed localize on these anyway, so it made sense to give social media management and influencer collaborations as a package basically over to local teams. But we support them from the HQ. We also work on our global collaborations. And in both cases, we want to keep creativity really at the core of those posts and those collaborations. For example, the post you see here, which is the cake that looks like a Bolt food bag. It was done by a food influencer in Finland. So this is kind of, we want to keep influencers as the thing that reminds you to use Bolt rather than the thing that directly sends you to the ad store to download the app. Quickly more about why we made the switch, just to have this here. First were the problems with attribution. So we wanted to integrate influencers more into a holistic approach with other marketing rather than taking them separately from, for example, paid media, Facebook ads, or even in some cases like radio commercials. Like influencers, as I said, are more of a reminder and more of a really a top funnel awareness channel for us. Another thing is that the performance approach didn't work in markets where Bolt has been for ages, where all the people have used us. So we needed to switch it in those markets as well. And yeah, to keep it more concise on a local level. Although we have switched from performance to brand awareness, then we are still growing. Bolt is still entering new markets. I think just last week we launched in New Zealand. A few months ago we launched in Canada. So even though we have this then and now look on things, then we still use the now playbook with some modifications or some things from the then playbook as well. And the baseline for any launch for us is not influencer marketers. Whenever we launch anywhere, it's other digital marketing, so ads, app store, also our own comms channels in the app that do the real heavy lifting. And influencers are never the only thing that we go live with, and they are more have, I'd say, a supporting function to other marketing. But yeah, they still have their own role to play in the general marketing mix. So for example, I think influencers are really good for building trust in the brand, especially if you're very new to the market. So seeing someone locally vouch for you and kind of recommend you in an authentic way can have a big part to play. Also, influencers can be used as local content creators to help you create marketing materials. When in the Canada example, like most of the work was done from Europe, so influencers were there to make a video for us according to our brief, rather than us hiring a huge video production to do like a TikTok ad for us. Yeah, and influencer creatives just help diversify our channel mix and our general marketing content mix. So whatever influencers use, we can also use on our socials, in paid ads, etc. So they definitely have a role to play next to all the core digital marketing that we do when we launched in a new market. Okay, so after this long intro into like the general context of what we do at Bolt with influencers, let's get to the actual meaty part of the webinar that was advertised. So I put together 3 challenges that tend to pop up every once and again when we enter new markets with our services. And obviously I'm gonna give solutions to all of those. The first challenge that's super important to remember is that influencers, however much you want, they aren't hyper local. In most cases, influencers are a wide net that you can throw into the sea and get whatever you get, rather than a straight up hook that you can direct to something. And the smaller the place is that you're targeting, whether it's a country or a city, the harder it is to get to your target audience with influencer marketing. Because in most cases, the influencer audiences just aren't in one place. And also the way that Bolt product works, we are super local, and we need to make sure that people who we target actually have the opportunity to use our products as well. So in our influencer marketing, especially when we're launching, we need to be quite location mindful. So how do we do this? We make sure that the influencers that we work with are as local as they can be. So usually we have 2 different categories of influencers in terms of locality. One is the creators who are posting organically, and the other one are the creators who are doing UGC content for us. The guys who post organically, I usually try to keep so that they have at least 50% of local audience in that city or the country that they live in. And this is where Modash comes in and has been a huge help for us for years. When I search for influencers on Modash, then I use like religiously the audience location filter and the location filter overall. Because as I said, the fact that the people that we're targeting are actually living in a place where they can use our product is really important in terms of how the Bolt business operates. So yeah, as you can see on the example, coming back to the Canada launch, I looked for influencers who are in Toronto themselves, because we only launched in Toronto, and who have an audience in Canada. So yeah, it wouldn't make sense to work with creators in Montreal or Quebec or any other Canadian city, because they just can't use the service. So it would be really wasted advertising dollars. I also like to use, in addition to the audience filter, the bio filter on the same Modash search a lot as well, just to find some profiles who might have slipped through the cracks of the audience filter. So for example, just doing a basic search with no other stuff than Toronto in the bio, or even Ontario because it's the region, might give me influencers who really identify themselves with the area that they live in or that they represent. When we launched in Barcelona a few years ago, I did a search with just capital BCN, because that's how Barcelona is usually in Instagram bios. And that's what people use to identify. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate of the audience search, but also my secret tip is to use the bio search as well. When we have influencers who are doing UGC content, then the fact that they have a local audience is not as important, because video that they do or the content that they do is going to be boosted anyway, and paid media does the heavy lifting here. But they need to live in that place themselves. And while the organic posting influencers, I think, work better when the city is big enough to target with organic influencers. So for us, we have kind of put in place a benchmark of 1 million residents. So anything under that already gets a bit tricky in terms of targeting the people who live in that city. Then with the guys doing UGC content, it doesn't really matter, and you would be able to find local influencers in, I don't know, Nottingham in the UK, for example, which might be a bit small on their own. But if you want to only do ads in that city, then someone locally could do that for you. And if you don't have access to those tools or any similar tools, then one thing I would also urge you to consider is the fact that influencers' account reach can really be different from their individual post reach. And sometimes they might reach an X amount of people in a location while their audience is totally somewhere else. So it's also totally okay if you find an influencer that you want to work with to ask for their stats screenshots and kind of validate them and make an educated decision like that. And as I said before, in most cases, even with country launches, or especially with country launches, we wait until there's a little brand awareness first on the ground before launching influencer campaigns or influencer marketing, or before like unlocking influencer marketing for us. So I want to do like a quick poll moment here and ask you guys in the audience, do you launch paid ads before using influencer marketing in a new market, or do you just go full on with influencers and see what happens? Okay, interesting. It's looking a bit similar to how we do things, although the no's are getting more traction now. Yeah, so I think the next challenge will be quite interesting for all of you, whether you do use paid ads before launching influencers or not. Challenge number 2 is the fact that the algorithm, when you're working with influencers organically, is unpredictable. And in most cases, influencers can also be unpredictable because influencer marketing is a human-to-human business, and you need to account for that. On the slide here, I have a quick look into our Canada launch campaign, where we took the estimated or the average video impressions from Modash, estimated the CPM, and then looked at the actual impressions that we got from the influencer content. This was all, this is a mix of Instagram and TikTok short form video content. And as you can see, like some of it totally overperformed, some of it really underperformed, some of it is right there on the line. And it's really hard to say actually why it has happened like that, because even though we briefed the influencers well, really thoroughly, we obviously approved all content, we tried to give them freedom to make content that would feel organic and authentic in their feeds next to their other content to their audiences, then some of it's still under-delivered. It might be that some influencers made the video a bit lazily, just trying to get the brand deal. Maybe some of them also over-delivered, and this is something that happens with smaller creators, is that they kind of try to impress the brand and try to make it look more advertorial than it should be. So yeah, this is something that I don't have a perfect solution to, but I have a solution that you can protect yourself with. And the solution is to diversify your influencer campaign for different objectives. And low-key, this is a solution for both challenges 1 and 2. So the locality aspect, as well as the fact that organic posting is unpredictable. So yeah, this, if you have the budget, if you have the opportunity to go for a tiered strategy, then this allows you to tap into different creators who basically have a different function in the campaign. Depending on your budget, of course, you can leave out some tiers. You can only do a few curators in each one, or you can even, like, if something works really well for you, you can start scaling it even more. Also, one question that often gets asked when I show this kind of outline is that, okay, but how many followers does a tier 3 influencer have? Or how many followers does a tier 1 influencer have? And to be honest, there's no one answer, because it depends so much on the actual demographics and the location that you're working in. So for example, a tier 1 influencer in Estonia that has 1.3 million inhabitants overall would barely be a tier 2 influencer in a place like Nigeria, for example, that has like hundreds of millions of people. So yeah, this is something to put in place for yourself based on your own conditions, but a really rough categorization, I think, would be that tier 3 is anything under 10K followers or under 10K impressions, I would say. Tier 1 is anything over 100K, and tier 2 is everything in between. But as I said, this is not like a golden rule. So yeah, in the campaign context, how would the diversification actually work? The tier 1 influencers for me are the guys who post organically. They are maybe local celebrities or people who are at least locally known faces. If they appear on your screen, you recognize them. And in some sense, these are the creators that you want to like associate with your brand, and whose brand you want to be associated with. Like, you hope that some of their cool will rub off on you. They usually, I would consider them as organic posters, and with a really top level brand building awareness, as I said, large net approach. And in case of launching in a new market, then sometimes there are those accounts that are really, for example, share a lot of local recommendations, or they're like a local tourist account even done by people who live in the city. And I find that these accounts oftentimes also fall under the tier 1 hero influencers. So even if they might be faceless accounts, then they are still trusted in the community, and their advice is trusted in the community. Tier 2 are these kind of, to me at least, these kind of consistent content creators. They usually have a loyal audience, they have a loyal following, usually they have a higher engagement rate as well. And I would look especially that they have a high local following as well. If I were to implement CPM guarantees or view guarantees with any tier of influencers, it would be those guys. And oftentimes, these are the people who are most protective of their own brand and their own content, and they aren't really keen to do paid media, or it turns out to be super expensive, and even tier 1 paid media buyouts might be cheaper than the tier 2, at least recently. I think in the last year, this is what I've found. And tier 3 are those micro creators who basically are your content factory for UGC and for ads. They don't need to live in, they don't need to have a huge audience in the place that you're targeting. But they need to live there themselves to appear like opinion leaders in some case anyways. Some of their posts might go viral, but I wouldn't bank on it. And I wouldn't put all my money on them hoping that they do go viral, or hoping that I reach a wide audience with these micro creators. Yeah, and I think usually I would actually also give different briefs, or like slightly different briefs to those 3 tiers. Like the tier 3 brief would definitely be more focused on like creating content that is guaranteed to work well for ads. Tier 2 may be more personal, authentic, and tier 3 then again a bit more broader. But again, this totally depends on your own product, your location, everything as well. And yet a third challenge for us is actually understanding when to use influencers in the sense that we want to protect our brand and we don't want to rush into things. Especially when we are in a new market, then we want to consider working with influencers there. So for example, we might promise a really good ETA in the influencer brief, and they order a ride and the app says that the ride will be there in 15 minutes. Like, this is us not delivering on our promise. So they come back to us with a negative brand experience. The worst case, they post about their negative brand experience. And then this whole thing rolls out that we don't actually want the influencer to be an extension of our brand in terms of what they say, but kind of represent our values, I think. This is just, maybe this is my background in PR that is making me a bit conscious of this or protective. But yeah, we just need to be mindful that our service in general is a marketplace, and it's not just us plus the customer, but it does involve drivers, restaurants, couriers, and we need to be sure that all of those parts work well before we put another aspect as the influencer into this equation. So for example, I already talked about the ETA. Another example is from the UK, where we launched a pet category ride. And we really wanted to push this with influencers. And it turned out that when the influencers, together with their dogs and cats, ordered the ride, and the drivers saw that they had a pet, and then they declined on the spot. So what had happened is that internally we hadn't really tested it enough. We hadn't really figured out or confirmed that the service works as it should. So we got a lot of emails from influencers who luckily didn't post, but we got a lot of emails from influencers saying that they're not comfortable to post, they had a bad experience, and that they would like to draw out from the campaign. So in worst case, the influencer would have posted. It's like a micro PR crisis maybe, or even if it's not a PR crisis, then it's a crisis of brand perception, I would say, because usually influencers' audiences value their opinions so much, like you would value your best friend's opinion, and if they had a bad experience, then you by proxy basically remember their bad experience. And even if you have a ton of good experiences after it, then it's really hard to shake this first bad experience. And yeah, with influencers, it's also important to respect their authenticity and their integrity and their organic voice. And I think it would show in the content if they post and it's not organic, and then it just doesn't really land the same way. So yeah, important to take away from this slide is that influencer marketing doesn't exist in isolation to everything else that's going on. So yeah, my solution to this, first of all, starting from the second point, is to have clear communication within your organization and only unlock influencers when you're confident on the service quality, actually, because there's so many variables when working with influencers that you can't control, that it just makes sense to be sure, basically. And the other thing is that a lot can be done with a good brief, and a detailed brief, for example, including do's and don'ts. If you're entering a foreign market, or like a very foreign market, then you can even give some key phrases in the brief, or you can give tips on how to get the best service experience. So for example, in our case, in some briefs, I have said that it's best to order a ride at this time, or best to put your pickup location like this, so the driver will definitely find you, etc. And if it's possible, then I also want to have local eyes on the brief as well, so that it makes sense in the context. Yeah, summing up really quickly on the 3 challenges that I presented. So first of all, influencers are there to help build trust in your brand and your product in this new market that you're launching, especially the people who have a higher followership, who have a high local following and high engagement rate. Then they are the creators who can help with kind of amplify your brand locally. A key way to work with influencers is also to diversify your media spend and include micro creators to your campaign who would create UGC and whose content you can use in paid media campaigns to keep your campaign costs under control, and also to control the results better, and to even most crucially control the targeting the best. And thirdly, keep in mind that influencers don't exist in isolation. As I said, it's a human to human business. So make sure that you're delivering on the business side, you're delivering internally, externally, and that you can deliver what you promise, both to the influencer and the customer, to basically protect your brand and avoid any unpleasant situations that you don't want to deal with. Yeah, these are my three main maybe takeaways from the 4 years of experience I've had when launching new markets with Bolt and with influencers. I'd like to hand the virtual mic over to Simone again and get to the Q&A side of things, because this is maybe even a bit more exciting.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful. We had a few questions in the Q&A section. So if you do have a question, please pop them in so that we can get to them. But I do actually have a question about agents and agencies. How important do you think they are?
In some cases, they can be really important. We do work with agencies quite a lot, especially with talent agencies. They can help you if it's a really new market or somewhere that you don't really have a clue in. Then agencies can help you suss out the most relevant creators to you. And if they're a talent agency, then you might get like a bundle deal if you book more of their influencers. And what I've found, or like what experience I have, is that agencies also help if there's like a language barrier or even like a communication barrier. An example is when we launched in Paraguay and Thailand, is that we did our usual email outreach to influencers. We had our lists and we got like so few. I don't know, the response rate might have been like 10% or something. And it was just so hard to get replies via email. So we even at one point translated our reach out emails to the local language. And we're hoping that, okay, if they answer, we can like Google Translate, yada, do something like that. But it turns out that people in those countries, or influencers in those countries, just don't do business over email, they do it over WhatsApp. And we had no way of knowing it.
Oh gosh, when I worked as an influencer for 8 years, you can definitely tell the briefs that come abroad. So the reason why I mention it is because sometimes I receive briefs from outside the UK and they just didn't make sense to me. And again, that's a cultural kind of communication thing. So I'm just wondering, has there been a situation where you had to use a third party or someone that could help with the briefing process?
In our case, I would say the third party are the people in our local marketing teams.
Okay.
That if we have a campaign and we have a global brief, then we send it to those people in those countries, and they tell me that, okay, this example you brought doesn't make sense or stuff like that. So we're super lucky to actually have a huge marketing team, and we only are a small part of it and actually work as a big like a bee family.
Great. Let's go to a question from our audience. We've got quite a few actually to get through. So let's start with the first one. Did budgets decrease when switching from performance to branding?
They didn't actually. They shifted from our team to, for example, before we used to duplicate, we had influencer budgets for performance and we had ads budgets for performance. Then the influencer budget shifted to the ads team because they could just use it in a more wise way. But overall, the budgets didn't decrease. We just found a different purpose for using them.
How did you track performance and revenue?
This is done with the help of our MarTech team.
Okay.
So another external helpful team to influencer marketing that I don't do personally myself, but we have other teams that help us track like the really big numbers.
Okay, awesome. This is a really good question. I quite like this one. Someone's asked, do you mind clarifying what you mean by paid media doing the work for UGC?
I mean the fact that if you have an influencer create a video and then you boost it, for example, with a TikTok code or as an Instagram ad. So basically you use the video or the content the creator makes as an ad.
Okay, do you know what? I've got a little top tip here, something that I've trialed out and it's worked wonders for me. So if you are thinking about launching UGC ads, maybe with a creator, Facebook have this really great co-creator toggle now, so you can actually post the UGC ad and then co-collaborate with the author, whether it's an influencer or not. But I've done that and the metrics went through the roof. I could not believe the performance on the actual ad asset. So that's my little top tip here. Doing the co-creation with creators, even if they create UGC content, can be very powerful for Meta.
Yeah, sometimes influencers don't want to have the ad like associated with their profile because there's still the misconception or the, I don't know, thought that if you boost your content, then the organic reach suffers. So some creators are really specific that they will give us the video asset, then we can put it in our assets and use it however much we want, but they don't want their account associated with it.
That's interesting because I know there's a difference between whitelisting and the co-creator.
Mm-hmm.
The co-creator, the influencer doesn't have to post on their platform whatsoever. So you just post for your own Meta account, and then you just literally have the whole like bolt and so and so. So it doesn't have to hit their account, which is brilliant. As an ex-influencer and a current marketer, I think it's brilliant. Okay, next one. I like this one. How do you negotiate with influencers for the best deal? Any tips on budgets?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I understand the influencer point of view as well. Like if we're in an email conversation and I ask them like, yeah, what's your usual rate for, I don't know, one Instagram reel? Then obviously they would like to know what's our usual rate for paying for an Instagram reel. So my like go-to way is that whenever I get their rates, I try to, as I showed in that Canada slide as well, estimate the CPM that we would get from their content, because most of it is video content anyway. So we can see the numbers that they have had recently, for example, in their last 10 reels, or looking at the number from Modash and then estimating the CPM. And if it aligns with our general benchmarks, then okay. If it doesn't, then I try to negotiate it down. And I've had cases where like, and it's again like tier 2 influencers and tier 3 influencers are those guys who usually don't really want to come down in their fees. But tier 1 influencers, like sometimes they ask for, I don't know, 20K and it ends up being 5K. Like it's nothing. But with like tier 2 influencers, they are much more protective. But I guess, yeah, they also, it's more of their like livelihood and stuff like that. So so yeah, I do negotiate with influencers, but I try to back it up with numbers. So it wouldn't look like, yeah, I'm just trying to get a really good deal from you, but like explain to them like why the fee that they're asking doesn't really match our campaign and what we can offer instead, etc.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We actually have a video going live on the Modash YouTube channel tomorrow on how to negotiate with an influencer. As someone who worked as an ex-influencer, I have very many tips I wanted to share. Like, for instance, I absolutely hated when someone said, we're paying you less because your last video didn't do so well, when the last like 10 have done excellent. And you actually do have people use those metrics to kind of justify a lower budget. So if you do want to watch that video, it's going live tomorrow. Some really useful stuff like bundling, minimum view guarantees, all that good stuff. So yeah, definitely go and check it out. But that's a very good question. I quite like that. Okay.
There's actually also cases where I have like where the influencer has quoted me for a fee and I have said that, no, it's too little. I want to pay you more.
Oh, wow.
Because in smaller places, for example, in Estonia, like people will talk,
Yeah.
And if someone asks like 200 euros for a video that they have, I don't know, over 10K followers, I know that just like the sheer work that goes to the video, then I just don't think it's fair to pay that little, even if it would like really help my budgets or something.
Thing is,
So
such a good relationship like that. There's been so many brands that will just take the low offer and then run with it. Whereas I think being honest in the negotiation stages is really important. There's actually a guy called Dan Ali. He says actually bringing a concrete offer to your influencer is actually better because you're not kind of given too much flexibility with the influencer. So for instance, you present an offer, but you can also highlight the value. So let's just say we would like to pay you $500. The gift is worth $300, and also we'd love to give you a 10% commission. So there are ways to phrase it. You don't always have to be like, hey, what are your rates? You can also like be quite concrete in your offer, which I found really interesting. But yeah, apparently people like concrete offers. Excellent. Let's go on to the next one. So how strict are you with organic content in terms of briefing and content and messaging?
The more that we go towards brand awareness, and the more that we go towards, as I mentioned, like just creativity, then I think the main work actually lies in choosing the right influencer and then just outlining what we want from the content rather than giving a super strict brief, even if it's organic, because these are the people who really know what they do. And if they understand from our own social media content, from the conversations that we have, sometimes I would also have calls with the influencers. Yeah, basically with those like really creative influencers and the more awareness type influencers, I try to give them an outline of what we're looking rather than a straight up like strict brief.
Yeah.
And what I find works quite good is if I find examples from their own content of what I want our collaboration to look like, so they have a reference point that they understand how it was made.
Yeah.
If I give them a reference point from another influencer, then it might be like more alienating. They might want to like really copy it. But if I say like, hey, I really like this video, please make something like this for us with this message in this style, incorporating XYZ, and like keep it kind of loose and just trust the influencer basically.
I love that. As an influencer, I used to love those one sheets that you get, this key information and maybe an example of how they would like the content to look. This kind of leads us nicely onto our next question. Do you always send influencers contracts to sign before sending off products or asking for content? If they sign the contract and don't follow up on the content supply, what do you do, if anything?
Yes, we do sign contracts with all the influencers that we work with. We don't really do product seeding, so that's not that relevant in our case, but because we pay all the influencers, then, and there's just like intellectual property rights and stuff like that involved, then yes, we do sign. If they don't do the content, then obviously the contract has a termination clause, like I think it's 14 days, like both parties can tell the other within 14 days with reason that they want to cancel the collaboration. And we have also used that clause as ourselves. If they don't deliver the content, then nothing really happens because we usually pay them after the content is submitted. So we just cancel the contract and go our separate ways.
Yeah. It's quite hard sometimes, if you do product seeding, that's the risk. Sadly, you have to, it's the risk really with it, but it's a very good question. Next, let's go on to this next one, which is when you transition from 100 performance creators a month to brand awareness campaign, how many creators a month did you work with?
It was quite drastic at first. I think we went down to like 20 creators a month. But it didn't really significantly decrease our workload because all those 20 creators needed more attention. Yeah, and just like the function internally changed a bit as well. So now I work a lot more closely with our creative team and our social media teams. So it's a lot more like ideation in-house before we even get to the influencer part of things.
Excellent. We actually do have a poll up next. So how does influencer marketing fit into your marketing mix when in a new market? Mainly for performance marketing? Mainly is it for brand awareness, or is it something else? Love to hear from you guys. There's a lot of questions on this. Okay. If you guys want to submit your answers. Okay, next question. We're going to probably do the last couple now. Let's go to this one. Okay, after you transitioned from brand campaigns, did you primarily focus on working with the best performers from the past performance campaigns? Just curious on how you transitioned and built a measurement framework for success.
We did keep some of the best performers, but what we found is that the creators who performed best for performance oftentimes weren't the ones who performed best for brand awareness, because we started to look for this kind of newness and this creativity, and the creators that we used for performance, where I think I had it on the slide as well, they were really like basic Insta girlies. Like nothing wrong with that. They do really beautiful content. It has its own time and place. It works in specific cases, but we kind of wanted to, and it came along for us at the same time as we started building our brand mission and our brand messages anyway. So at one point we did quite a lot of campaigns around car usage and like cities and how cities would feel better if there were less cars. So those like messages just didn't fit with the content of those performance influencers, and we needed to find quite a lot of new people who were more not specifically about sustainability, but just about like better lifestyle choices and stuff like that. So we yeah, can you pull the question up again, please?
Yeah, let's pull up the question.
So we did change our influencer pool quite a lot, and we have an ongoing like list of.
It was this one. Was it that one?
No, it was a different one.
After. So this one.
Yeah, it was quite a long one.
Here we go. This is the one.
Yeah, our measurement framework changed to CPM when it used to be CPA. And we also started looking more specifically, for example, at the comments and just like what the engagement is for the posts. But yeah, I agree that in some cases, if you switch your focus from performance to brand awareness, then those people who have been your ambassadors for a long time, provided that the messages don't change as drastically as they did for us, like they are already your ambassadors, like they already have this big pool of people interested in your product. So obviously you can keep some of them on or even most of them on and just switch how you measure their content on, or what you ask from them.
This kind of goes nicely to the next question, which is, on average, what is the percentage of influencers that keep in contact after campaign collaboration? This is quite interesting because if you work with an influencer over a set period of time, the relationship gets stronger, so does the results. That's what I found in the past. So I'm kind of interested to hear your thoughts on this.
Really, really hard to give a percentage, but I would like totally like ballparking here, maybe like 10.
Okay.
Are the people, or rather the agents as well, who come back to us. And sometimes it's also us going back to an influencer who we worked with 2 years ago saying like, hey, we're back. Like things changed, but we're here now again. And would you want to work with us again? So again, like this works both ways. And yeah, really try to have this mindset with influencer marketing or influencers in general, that it's like human, and in some ways it's like customer service.
Yes.
Rather than just like pure business, that you need to have this kind of empathy and this kind of human touch to it as well.
It's very interesting. When I was working as an influencer, there was a set period of time, I think 6 years, where every single year I did a beauty advent calendar series, and every single year I just had the same brands come back and be like, hey, can you like talk about our product? And it was just really nice because from then on, I was going to their events, I was meeting their teams, and actually you end up building a very strong relationship with these brands. Even to this day, I still have the conversations with them, which is fantastic. So I think the ongoing relationships are very, very strong for a brand.
Yeah, and especially for the influencer as well, when you have a good experience or a good relationship with the person in the brand, and if the person should change jobs, then they take you with them. So you basically just build your network.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to this next question. What's the average budget you assign to the influencers based on their CPM?
This again depends a lot on the location. For example, I found that at one point we did a lot of influencer campaigns in Africa, and the CPMs there were like a lot lower than they were, for example, in Central Europe. So in Africa, anything under 10 euros would have been like really good. In Central Europe, at one point I was fine with it if it's like 50 euros. We used to benchmark it to our ads performance, but this eventually didn't make sense because the objectives are just so different. And like the way you can control ads, you can never control influencer marketing. But yeah, what worked for me is comparing like individual influencers against each other or previous campaign performance in the same country to our new campaign estimates.
Awesome. We've actually had another really good question. Do you have any tips on how to start out in influencer marketing from an agency point of view? We are adding this service onto our current service in offer.
I assume that your agency works in marketing or in social media. Then I think if it's like client facing, then you can just focus on your experience in social media, because a lot of the times when agencies, for example, do brand socials, then they would also work with influencers to get this kind of different view. And this is what we do on our socials as well, both on the global page, or like especially on the global page, but also on like each separate country pages, is that we do work with local influencers to create content for us. We don't use it as an ad, it's just a partnership, plus we also get content. And with our small teams, we don't need to go out filming every other day, but we use influencers just as content creators. So I think with social media, there's like a really easy and like a logical link between social media and influencer marketing.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Piia. Those questions were great as well. So thank you so much to everyone who joined today. But yeah, thank you so much. What you'll do, you will receive a webinar replay in your inbox shortly, so you can rewatch it anytime. We're also sending you additional resources, so keep an eye out for your emails. And if you need help scaling your influencer program, perhaps you feel like you've outgrown your current process and you want to take things to the next level, then you can definitely book a free one-to-one strategy session with Modash, where we'll be able to share personalized advice to help you grow profitable influencer marketing program. The booking link is on screen, and there's also a link in the comments and chat. We cannot wait to see you at the next webinar, where we'll be teaching you how to grow your influencer pool and stand out in saturated niches by building unusual influencer partnerships. Thank you so much, Piia, for your time. I really appreciate it. Where can we find you? Can we find you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn would be the easiest one. Just Piia Õunpuu. I think you can spell it with an O as well. Yeah, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I try to post there like a few times a month if I see something interesting in the influencer marketing sphere.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.